December 28, 2014, from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. It was the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins in this AFC East Division rivalry matchup on the final week of the season. The Dolphins would get the ball first, and they'd start off with it on their own 10-yard line after the opening kickoff. They would end up going 3 and out. Tannehill was actually sacked on second down by David Harris. So 2 plays later, out came the punting unit. So after the 3 and out, they would punt from their own 2-yard line as they were punting from the end zone. And so now the Jets would take over on their own on the Miami 43 after the punt with about 13 and a half minutes still left in the first quarter. They picked up a first down, and then on 3rd and 2 from the 21, Geno Smith was sacked by Starks, and so they would have to settle for a field goal. Out would come Nick Folk to attempt the 45-yarder. It was up, and it was no good. So the score remained knotted up at a goose egg, and now the Dolphins would take over on their own 35 after the missed field goal, with about 10 and a half still left in the first. And on first down, Tannehill hit Hartline for a 16-yard reception, a first down at the New York 49, but then a penalty for tripping would bring them back to their own 41. Tannehill then went back to Hartline. He picked up 15 yards, and that made it 2nd and 5 from the 44. Lamar Miller then picked up 6 yards in the first down at the 38. Tannehill then went to Williams. He picked up 11 yards in the first down at the 27. But then a false start penalty would move them backwards. They wouldn't be able to recover from that. And out would come Caleb Sturgis to attempt a 37-yard field goal a couple plays later. It was up. It was good. And the Dolphins put the first points on the scoreboard with the score now Miami 3, New York 0. So now the Jets would take over on their own 22 after the kickoff with about 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Geno Smith then went to Owusu, who picked up 36 yards in the first down at the Miami 42. Then on 3rd and 2 from the 34, Geno Smith picked up 5 yards on the ground and a first down at the 29. Then on 2nd and 4 from the 23, Owusu picked up 23 yards on the ground for the touchdown to put the Jets in the lead by 4 with the score, New York 7, Miami 3. So now the Dolphins would take over after the kickoff on their own 20 with a little over 3 minutes still left in the first. They would end up punting 5 plays later from the New York 46. So after the punt, the Jets would take over on their own 9-yard line. They actually lost a yard on first down with a run by Ivory that brought the first quarter to a close. So after 1 quarter of play, the score was New York 7, Miami 3. Now to open up the second quarter, the Jets had the ball on their own 8-yard line. Geno Smith then went to Eric Decker. He picked up 5 yards, and then on 3rd and 6 from the 13, Geno Smith went to Amaro. He picked up 6 on the first down. So now it's 1st and 10 from the New York 19 for the Jets. Geno Smith then ran 2 yards, and he fumbled it as Jones forced the fumble, and it was recovered by Trusnick. And so now the Dolphins had the ball in Jets territory with about 13 and a half minutes left before halftime. It was on the 21. Tannehill then went to Clay. He picked up 7 yards to make it 2nd and 3. Miller picked up 2, and now on 3rd and 1 from the 12, Lamar Miller gets the handoff and takes it 10 yards for the first down to make it 1st and goal on the 2. Then on 2nd and goal from the 1, they give it to Thomas, and he punched it in from a yard out for the Dolphins to take the lead by 3 with the score now Miami 10, New York 7. So now after the kickoff, the Jets would have the ball on their own 21 with about 10 and a half minutes left in the second quarter. They're then faced with a 3rd and 3 from the 28. Geno Smith hit Amaro for a 17-yard reception, a first down to New York 45. Then on 2nd and 7 from the 48, Geno Smith went to Eric Decker. He picked up 40 yards and a first down in the red zone at the Miami 12. Then on 2nd and 6 from the 8, Geno Smith out of the shotgun dumps it off to Chris Ivory and takes it in for the 8-yard touchdown to give the Jets back to lead by 4 with the score, New York 14, Miami 10. So now the Dolphins would take over after the kickoff on their own 27 with about 6.5 minutes left before halftime. They would go 3 and out on the possession and end up punting from their own 26. They actually lost a yard on the possession. So now after the punt, the Jets would take over on their own 31 with about 5.5 minutes left in the second quarter. And after 4 plays, they would end up punting from the Miami 46. So now the Dolphins would take over, backed up against their own end zone on their own 7-yard line after the punt with about 3.5 minutes left before halftime. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 7, Lamar Miller picked up 10 on the first down at the 17. Tannehill then went to Landry, picked up 11 and the first down at the 28. Then on 2nd and 5 from the 33, coming out of the 2-minute warning, Tannehill went to Gibson. He picked up 7 yards and a first down at the Miami 40. They were then faced with a 3rd and 15 from the 50, and Tannehill hit Hartline for a 16-yard pass, and it was now a first down at the 34. Tannehill then went to Williams. He picked up 11, and now it was first down on the 23 near the red zone for the Dolphins. Out of the shotgun, Tannehill drops back, and he hit the tight end Clay for a 23-yard touchdown pass as the Dolphins took back the lead by 3 with the score now Miami 17, New York 14. So now the Jets would take over after the kickoff on their own 18-yard line with just over half a minute left before halftime. They just did a little pass, Smith to Johnson. He lost 3 yards, and the first half came to a close. So after 2 quarters of play, the score was Miami 17, New York 14. So now to begin the second half, the Jets would get the ball first. They had it on the Miami 12-yard line. Let's begin their first possession of the second half, and that was after an 87-yard return on the kickoff by Owusu. And so they were right there on the edge of scoring. It was 3rd and 1 on the 3-yard line, and Powell got stopped for no gain. So that brought up 4th and 1 from the 3. They gave it to Chris Ivory, and he got stopped for no gain. And so the Jets turned the ball over on downs when they started off with it on the 12-yard line to begin their possession. So they're not even a first down and not a touchdown, not even a field goal, even though they were right there in prime position to at the very least tie the game, but instead turned the ball over on downs. And now the Miami Dolphins would take over, backed up against their own end zone on their own 3-yard line. And on first down, they give it to Lamar Miller, and he ran it all the way 97 yards for the touchdown. And so they should have kicked that field goal maybe. And instead it's a 97-yard touchdown for Miami as they extend their lead to 10 with the score now Miami 24, New York 14. So now after the kickoff, the Jets get the ball on their own 20. Then on 3rd and 4 from the 26, Geno Smith out of the shotgun, drops back. He hits Eric Decker, and Eric Decker takes it 74 yards for the touchdown. And once again, it's a 3-point game with the score Miami 24, New York 21. So now the Dolphins would get the ball on their own 20 after the kickoff. They would get into Jets territory. They end up being faced with a 4th and 10, and there was 12 men on the field. They had the punting unit out there, but 12 men on the field for the Jets, and so now it was 4th and 5. And so now Miami said, hey, let's go for it. And they threw an incomplete pass, and so now they turned the ball over on downs. So now the Jets would take over on their own 36 after the turnover on downs. There's 9.5 minutes left in the third quarter. And on 3rd and 9 from the 37, Geno Smith hit Eric Decker for a 50-yard reception. Now it was a first down in the red zone at the 13. They weren't able to get another first down, and out would come Nick Folk to kick a 26-yard field goal. It was up. It was good. And now this game was tied up at 24 apiece between the Jets and the Dolphins. So now Miami would get the ball on their own 20 after the kickoff with 6.5 minutes left in the third, but after 4 plays, they would end up punting from their own 33. So now the Jets would take over with about 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter, and on first down from the 17, this is after the punt, Geno Smith hit Curley for a 33-yard reception that brought the ball to the 50. Smith then hit Amaro for an 11-yard reception. It's now a first down on the Miami 39 for the Jets. Then on 3rd and 8 from the 37, Geno Smith went to Eric Decker. He picked up 12 yards in the first down at the 25. Then on 2nd and 8 from the 23, Geno Smith went back to Eric Decker. He picked up 9 yards. And so now it's a first down in the red zone at the Miami 14. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 14, Chris Ivory ran for 2 yards, and the third quarter came to a close. So after 3 quarters of play, the score was tied up at 24. And now to begin the fourth quarter, the Jets had the ball on the Miami 12. It was 3rd and 8. And Geno Smith hit Eric Decker. He picked up 7, was just shy of the first down. But instead of going for it, they did the smart thing, and they elected to kick the field goal as Nick Folk came out to kick the 23-yarder. It was up. It was good. And the score was now New York 27, Miami 24. So now after the kickoff, Miami would take over on their own 23 with about 14 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. They would end up with a pass from Tannehill to Jarvis Landry for 17 yards to make it a first down on the 40. Then on 2nd and 4 from the 46, Tannehill went to Clay. He picked up 7 on a first down to 47. Then Lamar Miller ran for 12 yards, and it was now a first down on the 35. But that's where their drive would stall, and they'd bring out Caleb Sturgis to attempt the 53-yard field goal. It was up, and it was no good. So the score remained New York 27, Miami 24. So now the Jets would take over after the missed field goal with the ball on the New York 43, but they would go 3 and out and ended up punting from the Miami 49. So now the Dolphins took over with 9 minutes left in regulation, trailing by 3 with the ball on their own 20, but after 6 plays, they would end up punting from their own 25. They picked up a first down, but Tannehill got sacked by Davis and then 2 plays later they punted. So now the Jets would take over on their own 27 after the punt with less than 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And on first down, Geno Smith went to Eric Decker. He picked up 14 yards in the first down at the 41. They were then faced with a 4th and 12 from the 39, and they punted the ball. But on the punt, instead, it was a fake punt, and so they threw a pass from Quigley to Sudfeld, and he picked up 38 yards, and it was now a first down in Miami territory for the Jets off of the fake punt. So now on 1st and 10 from the Miami 23, out of the shotgun, Geno Smith dropped back, and he hit Cumberland for the 23-yard touchdown, and now the Jets were in the lead by 10, with the score New York 34, Miami 24. So now the Dolphins would get the ball trailing by 10 with a little less than 3.5 minutes left in regulation, and the ball on their own 25 after the kickoff. And on first down, Tannehill was sacked by Copels, and so now it was 2nd and 17 from the 18, but a penalty for holding against the defense would make it a first down on the Miami 23. They were then faced with a 4th and 16 from the 17, and they elected to go for it. And it was an incomplete pass, but a roughing the passer call against the Jets would now give the Dolphins a first down on their own 32. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 32, out of the shotgun, Tannehill drops back to pass, and he was sacked by David Harris for a 9-yard loss. He forced the fumble, and then Davis recovered. And so now the Jets had the ball on the Miami 22 with a little over 2 minutes left to play. Geno Smith ran for 6 yards and brought the game to the 2-minute warning. Then coming out of the 2-minute warning, a couple of runs for losses, and so they would end up bringing out Dalton Freeman to attempt a 39-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and now it was New York 37, Miami 24, and with only a half a minute left, the Dolphins would get the ball on their own 31 after the kickoff. They threw a 14-yard pass, and that brought the game to a close with the final score, New York 37, Miami 24. So the Jets win just their 4th game of the year and their 2nd game on the road, as they're now 4-12, 2-6 away from New York. Well, Jersey really is where they play, but the Dolphins are 8-8 on the season, 4-4 at home, so they end 500. And in this game, Geno Smith was 20 for 25 with 358 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. He also had 18 yards on the ground off of 5 carries. Ryan Tannehill was 23 for 39 with 259 yards and a touchdown. And the game's leading rusher was Lamar Miller. He had 178 rushing yards off of 19 carries, one of which was for a touchdown. And the leading receiver was Eric Decker. He had 10 receptions for 221 yards and a touchdown. And the leading receiver for Miami was Brian Hartline. He had 5 receptions for 94 yards. And the leading tackler in this game was David Harris of the Jets. He had 9 tackles and 2.5 sacks. So he had a monster game for New York. The leading tackler for Miami was actually a 2-way tie between Jimmy Wilson and Rashad Jones. They each had 7 tackles. The Dolphins had 1 sack, and that was Starks who had their 1 sack, and the Jets had 7 sacks. As we said, Harris had 2.5 sacks. Quentin Copels had 2 sacks. Davis and Richardson each had 1 sack, and Wilkerson had that other half sack. It's combined with Harris. So the Jets win this one in pretty impressive fashion. They were actually down by 10 points, but they ended up scoring an unanswered 27. This is the final 27 minutes of the game. They ended up scoring 27 points, almost a point per minute. and they ended up winning this one by double digits with the final score: New York 37, Miami 24.